Good afternoon, Mr. Witness. Welcome back.
Bismillah.
May I remind you that you're still on the oath? Before the lunch break, we were talking about the unlawfulness of the executions. The 9-death row inmates. And we have agreed that the Ministry of Justice and the Minister of Justice did not discharge the responsibilities of the office. You have indicated you could not have done so. You could not have done what was statutorily expected of you. Because your functions were given to someone else. That is what was discussed, correct?
That is correct.
So the evidence also points to the fact that this execution was carried out in secrecy in violation of Gambia's international obligations and also in violation of the law.
Aketa kullole kono me ya lon ko nyanta tinyale ya ke nyame wolem Gambia ning la ning dunia banko la loi ning dunia banko la loi ning be sokri membala aning wo fana mu Gambia fana la loi la tinyaldi.
Do you agree with that?
Isonta wala la bang?
I maintain my same position.
I don't
know where, how, who did the execution.
Well, if the Minister of Justice can say that, doesn't that in fact reinforce the argument, the position of counsel that it was done in secret?
Counsel is entitled to his opinion.
Counsel
is entitled to my position.
Miro, ite fonga miro, isaki no ifayene, pantafona, nakuma kongal mbemfola, wofona tutante fonga bulu.
But the Commission and the Gambian people are entitled to the truth. And you being asked to help the Commission to decipher the truth. Was this execution done secretly or was it done transparently?
I do not know. Because I wasn't there when it was done. Like I said, how, where, and who did the execution. So I cannot help the commissioner on that investigation. If I had known, between me and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I would have said it.
But Mr. Jobarteh, you can know whether it was done publicly and transparently or it was done secretly. That is a matter of obvious fact, which you can know without having been a participant in the process.
Mr. Jobarteh, we say that you is ni lonnole fo. Ako ni faketa kulole kono ma waranto faketa tilingo ni tonyale kono. Handing ayatara ikafo nyamendo ko itenunji hanna retenunji. Baro inyen woto lonnale fo aketa tilingo ni tonyale kono waranto faketa kulole kono.
Counsel, I still maintain my position. I do not know.
Counsel, hanisa wolod la kilingo bole tala malong.
The issues that I was able to help you on.
Well, this points more to a refusal to answer the question than an obvious fact, because this is about whether this was publicly done or whether it was secretly done. Everybody who lived in this country knew how it was done.
Men ya itandina ko fo ilafta fo ibe balandina ka nyini karo nyin jabi bam fo ibe fo iman fo balantale ba fo imam balan kadu nyimu kulat me ya lon ko gambia mo bele ya lon kadu mo be ya lon ko fo ya fakata kullo ko bam fakata kullo ko fakata banke ko.
The question does not suggest whether you are there.
Nyini karo man nyini ka fo ibe nunjele.
The question is rather to interrogate whether there was public knowledge that this was going to happen in this place at this time and in this manner.
In karo men dole ni defo nyin ko men keta temfo abekela aketa wati jumala aketa nyaadi le fana aketa montro wati jumala aketa minto le fana.
But that information was not available.
Baro kibaro nyim man soto no.
So it was done in secret.
Ota mo safo no aketa
Do you agree with that?
Isonta wala ba.
I have told you that I do not know. Unless if you are trying to force words into my mouth.
I will not force words into your mouth.
That is what it appears to me. Because once I said several times that I do not know. That should be the end of the story.
No, Mr. Jobarteh, it would not be the end of the story because the answer is patently unsatisfactory. In view of the information that is available, you should be in a position to make a pronouncement that on the basis of what you know, it was public or it was secret.
Nika suji ninki baro langa mensoto anita fanna load laka ibe pala ibe maka moto le kai tafo mole ko fo to nyaro nya nyim faro men keta fa keta kullo ko non fa keta bankele ko.
I cannot say so.
Do fola no.
Was it done publicly?
Keta bankele ko no ba.
I don't know.
Molo.
Okay. Did government give information that the executions were going to take place at a particular date?
Fo masakunda kibaro bondile banka janjandi kafo ko nyim faro nyinga bekela nying lum kari le ba.
I'm not aware of any such information.
Did the government give prior information as to the manner of the killings?
Oh, masakunda jandin ko nyim fa besila fo kibaro dile ban kom faro nyinga be kala nyamemba.
Not that I know of.
Did the government give information about the place of the executions?
Masakunda kibaro findindile banka fo jamae ko faro be kala dingira kari la ba.
Not that I know of.
Did the government give information to families of those to be executed as to what was going to happen, date, place, and time?
Fo masakunda kibaro di wom wala menana ko yollo findindi kata ko kata fala fo ya di la kibaro ila fami ila dimba dal banka fo ko be fala ni wati kata dum be fala ni dingira kari la ba.
Not that I know of.
I'm sorry about that, Mr. Jobarteh. Okay. Did I take it that your answer is not that you are aware of?
Yes.
So it therefore means this was done in secret?
I cannot say so.
Well, if it was done publicly, you would have known. Well, the position you occupied, obviously, if it was done publicly, you would have known.
That's a matter of opinion by you.
No, Mr. Jobarteh, I disagree. It's not a matter of opinion, it's a matter of fact.
Mr. Chairman, will you please intervene? I cannot say or talk about things that I do not know.
Mr. Chairman,
That's who has been insisting on the same question over and over. And I will refuse to answer any other question on the point, which is my right.
Well, Mr. Jobarteh, let me read you the law. Under the laws of this commission, you do not have a right to refuse to answer questions unless and until that question incriminates you in an offense. And this question is rather innocuous. It does not incriminate you in an offense. This is a simple assessment of a situation.
Mr. Jobarteh, ni munyin karla me ya lonko mbango loi kareja me ya lonko atele TRC be tama kan loi lela TRC da loi e sane ande janko to nyala e manyanda ke fandum se dan dro nyingono bari hanin kabi fanang nyinin karo nyinge kay nyinin ka nyimmen amanke nyinin kar me ya lonko isi fandum na kono le nyinin karla me ya lonko dron kula no ya lonko pour laftal dron pour ay CDA.
That notwithstanding, I can only answer questions that are within my knowledge.
Obe kola de.
The question asked elicit information that is within your knowledge. You know whether this was done publicly or whether it was done secretly. You know that. Well, Mr. If you do not answer the questions, I'll just ask the Commission to simply note the fact that you have refused to answer a question which requires, which is within your knowledge. Ni masana nyini karo nyinjabila mba itandila Commission nyati ngola janko sedo file nyati ngola mea lonko nyini karo landi alata anyati ngola bara balandi la kanya nyini karo nyinjabi ando nyini karo nyini karo da mea lonko ay londo soto jele.
That would be wrong to assume. Because I have answered every question that you ask, the answers to which are within my knowledge. I
will not further argue on this point. I'll just move on. And in fact, the evidence points to the fact that you were present during the execution. Do you deny that?
Yes, indeed.
Omar Jallo called Oya.
Omar Jallo ikafai Oya.
This is a person who participated in the executions. And he clearly named all those people who were present. And he implicated you, Mr. Jobarteh. He said Babadinding Jobarteh, Minister of Justice, was present. Is he lying?
Yes, he is lying. Because when he was writing that particular statement, he clearly stated he could not recall the name, and my name was suggested to him.
No, listen to this. Listen to this. Let's look at the transcript. The witness said there was this question. He had mentioned the General Sol Baji. He said, Mile 2 is the place where the people who violated the laws are being kept. Before we went there, we went to head of prisons, who is David Colley. When we got there, we met General Sol Baji, General Baji. And I asked the question, there have been many General Bajis in the Gambia. Who are you referring to? He said General Sol Baji. We met the former Interior Minister. I asked the question, name? He said Sonko. I cannot recall the name. I said we had a few Sonkos as interior ministers. And then I suggested that would be Usman Sonko, wouldn't it? He said yes. We also met another individual. He is short. He was the Justice Minister. I don't know him. Give us a description of the person. He answered, well, it was in the night. So I could not identify each other, and when I was going, I was also dressed in a mask. But the individual is not tall.
Maybe sude karon sudolem bari buato membe jente fana nganya dal mura ikaf me max bari nyim mari nyim manke mo jangote mo sutungolem.
He is just average.
Excuse me. What you read and what he just explained are different.
Can you correct him?
Okay.
Omari manke mo jangote mo jamfarinti.
He's not tall, he's just average height.
Well, he didn't even use the word average height. He said he's not tall.
Yes, correct it.
That's what I just corrected it.
Okay, then we proceed. I asked skin complexion. He said, to be frank, I cannot recall. He said, in your statement, you indicated a name of Babadinding Jobarteh. And he said, yes, I did not know him, but through the assistance of the investigators, they assisted me with his name. But listen, but as far as you are concerned, you were certain that the Minister of Justice at that time was present at the scene. He answered, what solidifies my beliefs that he was there was after we did all we had to do. Then Captain Rambo went and held him like this at the hand, and they went around all the dead bodies. Then I asked, what I am trying to drive at is how you arrive at the conclusion that that gentleman was the Minister of Justice. And he answered, because after we did all the work, then Rambo said, let me go and bring the Justice Minister. He went and held him by the hand and took him around the dead bodies. That was how I know that this was just the Justice Minister. He was told that this was the Justice Minister.
Yeah, fine.
I'm saying two things. Number one, he is lying. I was never ever there. And secondly, you must remember, this evidence is not tested by cross-examination.
We all know that, Mr. Jobarteh.
Well, I'm just saying.
We all know it's not tested by cross-examination.
Well, yes. So.
Yes, we all know it's not tested by cross-examination.
How then would you emphasize the fact that I was there when I said I wasn't there? The warrant is addressed to the Sheriff of the Gambia.
The person said was there, that person is tall.
Excuse me. Yeah. I had made it very, very clear that it was the Sheriff late Buba Jao that was there.
Now, Sheriff Buba Jao sa mantara baluri wala benunje.
But Mr. Jobarteh, you would agree with me that the Sheriff, Mr. Jao, has a completely different build to compare to you.
Sheriff Mr. Buba Jao atela lonya anita fatata bakele.
He is tall.
Atejam fatale.
You are of average height. Just like the witness has described.
I am saying, and I maintain my same position. Wallahi, billahi, tallahi, the Quran is here. I was never ever present at the
For whatever that is worth, it is in the record.
jareta ko kula abebe safirin.
These witnesses also swear on oath.
In sedol fana ye kalile.
2 of them already said you were there.
Mofulo be ko e benun jele.
1 of them described you.
Kilingo nying wayelo nya be fole.
And here is yet another one.
Silang sedo fanam fele.
This is Mr. Lamin Baji, PIU officer who testified before your honors.
Nyimu Mr. Lamin Baji le PIU para do kula la mem fana yala sedandro di jang.
And he was asked the question.
Ya nyinin karola.
What did you see when you got into mile 2?
Ya munne je nya keso la brita da kasi bumbaro.
He answered.
Ay jabiro di.
We got inside.
Ndunda konoto.
We find so many heads there.
Nga mo jamal taraje.
Security heads.
Tanko bunda nyaton ko kebalu.
People of high ranks.
Mol me alan ko ela makamol be santole.
People like Suleiman Baji.
Men kamunta ko Suleiman Baji.
Usman Sonko, former interior minister.
Usman Sonko me alan ko atela mun minister me marta banko kono kunyala.
Justice minister.
Minister me marre lual nin tilingola.
Prison boss David Colley.
Kasola bunda la nyaton ko David Colley.
All these 3 witnesses describe exactly the same set of people, including you. Is he lying? Yes. So all 3 of them are lying. Yes. All right. Here is another one, Mr. Chair. Amadou Baji. All chairman. Just a moment. Just a moment. Just a minute. He was asked, could you kindly call the names again, please? So he mentioned the names of the junglers who were there. And then he went on to say that for rectification, here, in our vehicle, I left Omar inside the vehicle with the cops. After I was standing on the way, waiting for those ministers coming. Those ministers coming. Only 2 ministers have been mentioned. Justice Minister and Interior Minister. So if it was only Interior Minister who was mentioned, the witness would have said the minister, one minister. So he was again asked, so did the ministers arrive at the Lance Corporal Bojang range?
Minister Lance Corporal Bojang range.
And he answered, yes, they came. But as far as they told me that, not to waste time, the moment they arrived, let me give them way to pass. That is what I did. The moment they arrived, I pointed the way to them so that they passed and went forward. And he was asked, and then what happened when they passed? I saw them when they arrived. They were met by our team leaders who led them to the place where the corpses were lying. This witness also said 2 ministers were there. These 2 ministers. The trumpet article. Written when? Written sometime later in 2019. And this is what they wrote. The Trumpet newspaper has reliably learned how former President Yahya Jammeh planned the unconstitutional execution of 9 Mile 2 inmates in late August 2012.
Yahya Jammeh fero landino nyaadi le pour nyum mo konon tolla men yalon ko ye faala men yalon ko keta 2009 tema mafam.
Our investigations revealed
Nas kisikisiro ni wanyar
that Yahya Jammeh, in consultation with Usman Sonko,
bring aninyo ay nyomoyo soto ani Usman Sonko,
then Minister of Interior Njogu Elba,
o wato Minister me Marlin Banko kono kunyala Minister Njogu Elba,
then Secretary General and Head of Civil Service,
o wato la tele Secretary General di ani Head of Civil Secretary saferla ani atele Marlin Masakunda do hulal bela.
Lamin Jobarteh, then Minister of Justice,
Lamin Jobarteh nunto atele munu Minister me mara lual nin tilingola.
And the Inspector General of Police Yankuba Sonko.
Anim police wala nyaton ko make of my ko Yankuba Sonko.
At State House,
Mansala korda bato
before the execution.
jannim faro bekela.
You met at State House before the execution.
Albenta mansala korda bato jannim faro bekela.
Wanana man soto.
And it says, contrary to the version of the state, that the 9 were executed by a firing squad on Sunday, 26 August.
Kibar kaito ya di nyamelo ko ñu mol men fa dimaso le ye fa nu ye samba firing squad la ye londi le ye bun killing.
That's what the government said, isn't it?
Mansakunda e wala
I don't know.
Malo.
Then our investigation revealed that they were actually suffocated and strangled to death on Thursday, 23rd August 2012.
Na kisiro e narna men din tolla wala nyindi ko e kangol de dete fo inara ni niol narna ji men keta dimaso la 2008 sankon.
That too you don't know?
I do not know.
Mo panalong.
On the evening of 23rd August 2012, State House convened a meeting of the security chiefs, which was attended by Benedict Jammeh, the then Director General of NDLEA, Numo Kujabi, the late Director General of defunct NIA, Buba Sanyang, retired Director General of Immigration, and Yankuba Sonko, then Inspector General of Police. Upon arrival, they found Lamin Jobarteh,
Lamin Jobarteh Trrc,
Usman Sonko,
Hari Sambu,
then Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Defense,
Permanent Secretary, member Marle Ministry me alango tanko kunyalem,
waiting at the office of the Secretary General Jogo Elba.
Batundrola Secretary General Officer memu Jogo Bala Officer konoto.
The Secretary General then called Usman Sonko, Yankuba Sonko, and Lamin Jobarteh to meet with ex-President Jammeh, leaving Ben Jammeh, Buba Sanya, Hari Sambu, and Numo Kujabi at his office.
Wato lem Secretary General narana nyumol kumande pour yeta president tarande narana bari Ben Jammeh ani Buba Jammeh yol bula ala office.
After they emerged from the meeting,
biri bodana o miti bendulato
Joguba then addressed them in somber tone.
Joguba narna diamu e jeto.
We should all stand shoulder to shoulder
benyana lola nyofele
and defend our friend
nganteri tema
when and where he is falling, rather than seeing him fall down. And we should not stab each other at the back. The source said. That's true, isn't it?
I'm not aware of it.
After they
and in fact, I will categorically say that the newspaper is lying.
How do you know that?
In the first place, I wasn't there.
So how do you know it was his lie?
Let me finish. He never indicated that he was in attendance.
He said, the source said.
I'm saying he and his source are all lying.
On that particular evening, exiled dictator Jammeh was seen dressed in a military fatigue, standing at the top window of the State House looking outside. Between the hours of 8 p.m. and 9 p.m., General Bora Koli, then Director General of the Gambia Prison Service, then called senior prison officers to report back to work.
Lungo la nyinna lungo nyinki boron kola General Bora Koli narna prison do kudal kumandi osama pour yamuru la do kola.
He did not give a reason.
Mandalila di.
Around the same time, Usman Sonko, Lamin Jobarteh, and General Sol Baji drove to Mile 2 prison in treated military vehicles with armed soldiers.
That is also not true.
The sources added that it was General Baji who handed the list of names of persons to be executed to the prison wardens on duty.
Kibaro nyintende na kafa fana wonu fana General Suleiman Baji atele kayto di prison do kulal nyina mol tolbe safir ndaven men yana ko nyanda fala wonu wala men be duties.
Lady Tabara Samba, a Senegalese national, topped the list.
Lady Tabara Samba atele musodi me ko Senegalese banko dingole atele be tobe follow.
I'm not aware of that. I don't know anything about that.
The other names are listed in the document. After the male inmates were removed from their cells at the security wing and Lady Tabara from the female wing, they were assembled at the headquarters at the main yard at Mile 2 prison. It was General Sol Baji who signed the receipt book indicating that he received the 9 prisoners.
Be kewol bondi la ma fa wala yewol soron dame nana Tabara fana bondi musol ka soron dame de be londi donkira kilimoto General Suleiman Baji la keta mod me alon ko atele ya sign kay tandi ko atele ni multa itoyala.
The prisoners were then handcuffed, put in 3 tinted vehicles and taken to Kanilai.
Inarana ni multa ye bulol cheni ye bulandi murol ko me alon ko ni moto weri fingor lem inarane nyati linke samba Kanilai.
Upon arrival, they were taken near an old well. Before the inmates were killed, Colonel Solo Bojang robbed them from head to toe with an animal tail in a ritual style.
Colonel Solo Bojang ni murumurun tela ni si fenyo babulu da fenyo babula murumuri balo bal kabudu ma fosanto.
That too is a lie.
I do not know. Wait a minute now. I do not know. And here, it's a case where 2 versions have been given. One is saying at the ring, one is saying at
look, Mr. Jobarteh, I can only faithfully represent the evidence as it is.
I understand. And similarly, I can only speak about what I know.
I will not encourage you to say what you do not know.
Thank you.
After the killing, the bodies were dumped in the well. The execution is said to be witnessed by General Sol Baji, General Bora Koli, Colonel Solo Bojang and team of junglers, Torture Squad. The suggestion that you were at State House and at Mile 2 to receive the prisoners, you say it is false.
Yes.
State House and Mile 2
All right. Let me get another one. You said all these things are false. You don't know anything about it.
What I would suggest is during that month, maybe you should get the driver.
He said driver maybe
you should get the driver of late Buba Jao.
Buba Jao la driver so kumandino.
Mr. Jobarteh, the fact that Mr. Jawa was present there does not absolve you from responsibility. And it also does not negate your presence. What would negate your presence is evidence that you are in a different location and witnesses who say you are not there. At least you should have an alibi. You are not able to give us one.
Misalo di non afoko lungo ni be mindole man fam pondi non kan tonya kan landi ni nago tonya ton etanun je.
What I would suggest to you check the prison register.
Prisonal. Those
who were there on that particular night, it will be recorded in their register.
What is said to have been recorded is the people who are removed from the prison. Not the people who were in attendance.
Mr. Fall, the normal procedure at the prisons is every visitor or otherwise who comes to mile 2 at the gate, your name is recorded.
Well, that
would be regular. But mile 2 prison was far from regular. People were put in detention without any paper. People were being removed from prison without a single paper.
What I can say to all this, at no time was I present.
Well, the next day after the execution, you issued a press release.
I did?
Yes.
Which paper?
Here I am reading from the report of the UN on official executions being carried out after long hiatus. And this was, in fact, this was an Amnesty International report.
Amnesty International report already.
All right, and then at the middle of the page, it says, the Gambian Ministry of Justice, in a statement issued on August 24th,
Gambia Minister Bundami
defended Jammeh's announcement about implementation of the death penalty. It cited Section 18 of the Constitution and noted that in due compliance with the constitutional provisions, it follows that all persons on the death row have been tried by the Gambian courts of competent jurisdiction. And whereof convicted and sentenced to death in accordance with law.
And wakang inate sorong lua e bulo le kang wakang lua nata foko inyante butela nya wala inyante ke fale and ya beke lua le kang.
This is by Amnesty International.
Amnesty International wale nyimfo.
Amnesty International did not say who actually made the press conference.
Amnesty International,
wait a minute.
Okay. Minister of Justice.
It only says from the Ministry of Justice.
It did not say Minister of Justice. Minister of Justice.
But you are the Minister of Justice. Is a press statement is released on such an important day. Are you claiming that you are ignorant of that too?
Minister of Justice.
Indeed, I do not know. It says the Gambian Ministry of Justice in a statement issued.
Gambia la Minister Bunda.
Mr. Jobarteh, would the minister?
Can I finish?
Okay, finish.
The ought to have clearly stated who are the Ministry of Justice.
From the Minister of Justice
does not mean that Lamin Babadinding is the one or was the one that made the press release.
Minister of Justice Lamin Jobarteh
I did not.
But Mr. Jobarteh.
Mr. Jobarteh.
Would the Ministry of Justice at this time issue a press statement without your knowledge?
It's a Minister of Justice. It's a kibaro bod no la trete makalamutabang.
That would be really shocking.
And as a matter of fact, I have seen this for the first time today.
There is yet another, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
And this one with your picture boldly on it. Pass it on.
The fact that my picture is on this does not, you know how many times this particular picture has been going around?
Mr. Jobarteh, did you protest when this article was published?
Let me finish.
I'm asking a question. Did you protest when this article was issued?
If I had seen it.
But this is issued in the country. Your picture is boldly slapped on it. On a process which you say you were not part of, on a process which you say was unlawful, on a process which you say it was so bad that you had to distance yourself from it, and yet you just kept mum.
I wish the Point newspaper is invited to come and clarify how my picture appeared on their paper.
Of course,
yes, it is important. Because I have never ever issued any press conference on this matter.
Well, the documents speak for themselves.
Well, it is wrong this time.
Well, when it mattered, you did not say a thing.
When it mattered, I did not see it.
Well, you know the rules, Mr. Jobarteh. It was publicly published in the country, and under law, by law, a copy must be deposited in your office. By law, a copy would be deposited in your office.
If you go to the current Minister of Justice, he will tell you all copies that are being deposited, he had seized them.
But is that what you would call in defense? For yourself?
I'm not defending anything. What I'm saying is, I did not see this paper. No, my picture on it.
You had constructive knowledge of this. Constructive knowledge, I mean, because this was deposited in your office. It gives you notice. And it would be shocking if the Point newspaper would so boldly put the picture of the Minister of Justice on the paper and attribute some responsibility to the ministry if that were not true, and the ministry just keep quiet.
Minister
It would have been different if it is personally attributed to me. Merely putting my picture or slapping my picture on that page.
But the thing is, Mr. Jobarteh, when the Ministry of Justice issues press releases, they do not personalize it to an individual. They say it is the Ministry of Justice that says that and that and that. It does not say, I, the Minister of Justice, say this.
Kibaro bejanjane buka fonte fam kunde ngoteng ikafalo ko minister membe justice membe ratela mara lual nin kitin kunyal akuten nin ten nin teng ibuka fo te fam kunde.
Yes, it is attributed to the institution.
Not the
person.
Not
The fact that it has been attributed to the institution does not mean that Lamin Jobarteh did it.
Well, Mr. Jobarteh, let's look at this. You are the head of the ministry. You are the alter ego of the institution. It is said that the ministry said it. If that was not true, you should have come out and said, no, this is not the case. You did not do anything. It was also issued and your picture put in there. You did not say anything. The international human rights organizations also published it. You did not say anything. Until now.
I am not aware
Well, you, under the law, you have constructive notice because this was served to your office.
I disagree that I have constructive notice.
Well, the commission would look into that.
Very well.
Thank you very much. Mr. Chair, I would at a later stage put in these 3 pieces of evidence as exhibits. And now, in fact, just 2 more points on this. These executions were by suffocation and strangulation. That is inhumane. That is inhumane. It's a violation of the rules. And as Minister of Justice, it was your responsibility to ensure solemnity of the process.
Andite ba etele minister timimata tilungo ni tonyala ile nyanto lem puriya joko ye benyul fala nyami yakani mbunyala kono.
That is what the law says.
Mr. Lead Counsel.
Lead Counsel.
I have told you over and over, and I maintain the same position. I do not know where and how they were executed. I still maintain the same position.
And in fact, Mr. Jobarteh, another violation of the law is the failure to inform the government of the foreign nationals who were killed. Do you agree?
I do not agree.
Why don't you agree?
To some extent I agree, to some extent I do not agree. Because if the foreign country is supposed to be informed, it should and ought to have been done by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs.
Foreign Affairs was not aware of this. It should have been the line ministry that would inform Foreign Affairs to do it.
That is not my responsibility.
Well, this is executions. It does not say Minister of Interior. It says Minister of Justice.
Yes.
You are the minister responsible for overseeing these activities. So it ought to have been your responsibility to discharge Gambia's international obligations. And by not doing so, the Minister of Justice has failed in his responsibilities.
I do not agree. Because
well, if you take Mansong as a position...
Can I finish?
Okay, please proceed.
You cannot do all the talking. You have to give me a chance to explain.
You are answering questions, except where you say Mansong. But it's all right. Proceed, please.
What do you expect me to say when I do not agree? It's the man that said Mansong. I did not say Mansong. I said I do not agree.
Okay. Proceed, please.
Mansong.
I said I do not agree. I am not aware of where, how, and by whom these executions were done.
But Mr. Jobarteh, you were aware that Mr. Jawa was there.
Yes.
Magic?
I was aware.
Magic?
It cannot be by magic.
How?
The Chief Justice himself told me because the instructions were passed to him.
Chief Justice.
Well, this is most shocking.
Unfortunately.
Mr. Jobarteh, there is in fact another significant issue in all of this.
Mr. Jobarteh,
do you remember Mr. Yabo?
Mr. Yabo
Mr. Yabo. Mr. Yabo. I think so.
Tell us about him.
I inherited the file. From then Justice Wowo. At judgment level.
Case file judgment level
And he, going by the evidence, I think if I can recollect, he took an iron rod. An iron rod.
Yes, iron rod.
Yes.
Fine. And hit his mother and killed her. And he was charged for murder. So, on evaluating the evidence, I sentenced him to death.
And you signed?
Yeah, sign.
The warrant.
The warrant when you sign.
Which warrant? Can I see the warrant you are talking about? Haven't been signed by me?
Sign.
The warrant for his committal to Mile 2 prison on death row.
Warrant member etandila ko anyantala Mile 2 andunga nyantala molle kono mialan ko nyanne falale.
Yes, I signed this.
Sign.
Thank you.
Bring
the document. So you are the judge in this case.
And
the death warrant said you advised the president to execute him.
Oh, I attended the president Yamar like Pur Ayafa.
And on top of that, the witnesses said you were there present confirming the execution. What makes you judge, jury, and executioner? That would be a gross travesty of justice. If that is true.
I'm glad you qualified it. The only place where convicted prisoners are kept is Mile 2. And that's the only place I can sign for him to be kept.
But that's an interesting deviation from the issues. The issue is that you judge
when you keep interrupting me, I cannot finish what I want to say. And you cannot, in which case, you will not be able to make any sense out of what I'm saying.
No, but if you digress and take us the wrong way, it's my responsibility to bring you back. My point is, from these documents, you are the judge, jury, and the executioner. And that would be a gross travesty of justice. Nemo judex in causa sua.
I disagree.
Well, if problem bekeri if on ata munukare kata kiti tera takon. Ila problem bekeri nataka kiti tera takon.
You disagree?
Yes.
What do you disagree with?
You see, the issue is, if you were to read section 1, 2, 3 or 236
of?
I'm not sure of the Constitution.
The chair would always have a copy. Yes, proceed, please.
I have anything done by a judge in good faith cannot be liable.
I am sorry, Mr. Jobarteh, you're missing the point completely. The point being made here is your action as a judge is not being called into question. What is being called into question is you sat as Minister of Justice according to the documents and advised the President
I did not.
on a decision that you have already taken. And in addition to that, you were present when the executions were actually carried out. That would make you a judge in a matter that you are interested in, because you passed the initial judgment.
That is incorrect. Because I never ever advised the President on the execution of these prisoners.
Mr. Jobarteh, do you think it was your responsibility to first check whether in fact these executions could have lawfully been made in view of the status of those cases?
If I were to advise,
but as Minister of Justice, of course it was your responsibility to advise on the lawfulness of these executions.
I made it very, very clear that at the time of the pronouncement, I was 300 plus kilometers away.
You quickly came back. You quickly came back.
No, I did not quickly come back.
So you were not here when the executions took place?
No, I did not say I wasn't here. I was in the greater Banjul area. But I was not present at the time of the executions. That's what I said. Please don't misquote me.
No, I'm not misquoting you.
Yes, you are.
I'm not misquoting you. You know how cross-examination is made. You ask.
This is not cross-examination.
Well, I can cross-examine you on some issues.
No.
Well,
you are supposed to be leading me.
Yes, and in leading you, Mr. Jobarteh,
does not leading me.
I can also cross-examine you.
Leading me does not mean cross-examination.
Well, young can come somebody nak sedi andro di, but amanga go ibe kallan yinin kala ka kul bondi.
I will not go into that argument. It's a red herring. It just takes us away from the main issues. Some of these cases, in fact, the appeals were still pending.
I would have understood if their names were sent to me after a report. Then I would have checked the individual files or called for the individual files. But I was excluded from the whole exercise.
But what baffles us is that you were excluded from the whole exercise, yet you were so involved as to be able to advise the President that it would be unlawful for the Minister of Interior to sign the warrants.
Yes. You must remember.
You are not excluded.
You must remember at the initial stage, when he gave me the instructions from the Minister of Interior, to sign the warrant. I told him clearly, it is not the duty of the Minister of Interior.
Did he give you the warrants to take to him to sign?
No.
So how did it happen?
I don't know.
But you were there.
Yeah.
When you discussed with the President, who should sign the warrants, didn't you?
He told me, he only gave me instructions, and I made it very, very clear initially. I said he gave me instructions to prepare the warrant.
Okay. You want to tell us that you told Jammeh that you refused to prepare these warrants?
I did not say I refused to prepare the warrant. I told him the warrants must be signed by himself.
So how does an order to you to prepare the warrants translate into you being sidelined and it became an order to the Chief Justice?
That is my perception. Otherwise, the warrant should have been prepared by my office.
You were given the order to do so. You would not face Jammeh and tell him, I will not do this.
I never said that that was what I told you.
Exactly. So, and the warrants get produced and they claim to have been from your office.
Mr. Fall, I think you are now playing to the gallery.
Mr. Jobarteh, please.
Please.
Accord me some courtesy like I
No, I will not accord you courtesy when you are trying to impute certain things to me.
But that has nothing to do with me playing to the gallery. What gallery?
Of course, yes.
Mr. Jobarteh, I don't do those things.
Well, you know, you do worse things than that.
All right, thank you very much. It's all right.
You are most welcome.
Okay, thank you. I can accept some insults from my senior. I would show decorum and show how lawyers must behave. So let's proceed and answer the question.
What was the question? Can you repeat it?
You were given an order, an expressed order, by this leader of yours who we are so terrified of, you were so afraid of, to the extent that when he calls you, you almost hold your heart in your hands to quote you.
Yes.
And you did not do it? That is unbelievable.
Well, believe it or not, when he told me to go and prepare the warrant in Usman Sonko's name, I made it categorically clear to him. No minister has the powers under any laws of the Gambia to sign such warrants.
And you complied with your orders, drew the warrants, drafted them, and sent them to him for his signature.
I told you I was removed from that responsibility.
What you have not explained is how and when you were removed from the responsibility.
You see, I have told you, that warrant, or those warrants, for the first time today.
Mr. Jobarteh, did you run away from the country at the time?
And leave my family here? That's what you expect me to do?
The president ordered you to do something as big as this. He has vowed to the nation that he would do it. If he doesn't, he would drink alcohol and eat pork. And he asked you to go and prepare the documents. And you did not, and you sat there, and nothing happened to you. Nobody called you, nobody asked you for something. That is mighty unbelievable.
When I gave him my advice as to who should sign the warrant, that was the end of my discussions with him on this issue.
And you remained in the country.
Yes.
And you remained in your position as Minister of Justice.
Yes.
And then the next day after the executions, your office issued press releases justifying it.
Well, according to what I have seen on the paper. I'm not denying it. I'm not denying that those statements.
By every indication, your hand was in it.
Can I finish? I am not happy with things that you are imputing to me.
Well, you have imputed words to me, but it's okay. I can handle it.
Well, maybe for you it's okay, but for me it's not okay.
In this case, it's the evidence, Mr. Jobarteh.
When you speak, give me also the chance not to speak out of courtesy.
Do you think you are entitled to courtesy?
Yes.
After you have just insulted me.
I did not insult you.
Well, I have showed you courtesy. I have showed you greatest courtesy. I have listened to you. I have asked you questions politely in spite of the insults. It is not me who is saying anything. It is the evidence that is saying it. It is this document, which was produced and signed by His Excellency the President and put a national seal on it, which said that you advised him.
You see,
none of you said anything at the time.
This was I told you earlier that what I would have expected that you should have done was to get the file and see the report that is being mentioned here.
Mr. Jobarteh, we've been more than diligent. These are the files, these are the warrants that came from your office. All documents are missing. We managed to dig these out, and what we dug out dug you in.
So the fact that that report is not seen is a clear indication that there was no such report.
Mr. Jobarteh, the entire files are missing. And look, people knew that this was an illegality. People knew from day one that these killings were unconstitutional. I mean, it's normal. A person who is interested in it could have the files disappear.
Okay, can you now allow the interpreters to just help a little bit?
Thank you.
And at this point, I just want to raise one procedural issue. Section 16, paragraph 6 of the Act establishing the TRRC does tell the chair or give the chair the duty to preside over these meetings. However, it does also give the deputy chair the duty to do so in my absence. This is not a court of law. It is a truth-seeking mechanism. So the question of recusal does not quite rise in the same manner. However, we have used it in a few areas here and there. The witness appearing today is very close to me. I don't want to continue I'm presiding over the meeting at this moment. This exchange, I thought it wouldn't get to that point where I have to make a ruling, and I don't want to get involved in that one. So I spoke with the deputy. She would continue the meeting. I'll be here. I won't be recusing myself. I need to know what is going on. Deputy, if you don't mind, as we spoke, if you can continue to preside over the meeting.
Chairman kabum fo sutani do wala rek comme say ko wolbe ke ka nyam alaftala e crossiro ke kaje ka long fon mine be keri njang say pour apply wo keno abe sang ala makamo nyinga be dam to jan sang aba saundela la di debete la pour wo continuer sa jate a se trasiri no ka crossiro ke ko wolbe ta ka nyame ka to sedo nyin sutiata.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, and over to you, Madam Deputy Chair. Mr. Witness, to wrap up on this particular issue. You claim you have no knowledge of these executions. You do not know who carried them out? Correct?
That is correct.
You do not know where they were carried out? You do not know the manner in which they are carried out? As Minister of Justice, you did not do your work on this particular matter. You did not ensure that the law was implemented properly?
On the Jami regime, I could not have.
Well, you put up with the situation and never resigned? You never registered disagreement with what was going on? The 4 witnesses indicate that you are present during the execution? I mean 3 witnesses. You have newspaper articles, 2 newspapers saying that you are present? Amnesty International attribute a press release to your office? A local newspaper also attribute the same press statement to your office? Yet still you deny any knowledge of it.
That is correct.
It seems as if this is just blanket denial. You offer no explanation as to where you are? And you offer no explanation as to how the instructions given to you ended up with the Chief Justice. So I will move on to the next topic, which is the tortures of 1996 of Balo Kante and the Farafenni attackers. The rebels allege that you tortured them at the NIA. Balo Kante took it a notch further. He claimed you even cut his nipple. You, Fodebari, and others electrocuted him. What do you say to that?
In the first place, I am saying that Balo Kante is lying. The reason being, first he said, I received him at the gate. It's only the securities of the NIA who are responsible for the opening and closing of the gates. May I finish?
I want to interject there. So we clear that point, then we move on.
See, when ideas start flowing in my mind, I could lose track.
Well, that is not my objective. I'm not trying to distract you. So proceed.
I do not open or close any gate at the NIA, nor receive anybody at the NIA. Besides, if I may ask, when were they brought to the NIA?
You asking me questions? Yes, Mr. Jobarteh, you know the drill. I ask the questions, I don't answer the questions.
But sometimes you can help a witness. That's the purpose of leading a witness.
But what do you say? Is to
guide the witness to answer questions. Is to elicit evidence or the information from the witness.
In 1995 and 1996, I was with the police. All right? Now, part of 1995 and in 1996 I was at some point out of the country. And I can show you the stamps in my passports.
Is that your alibi?
I did not do what he claimed that I had done to him.
The alibi is the defense that I could not have been there because I was elsewhere.
That's what I'm saying. That's why I said, I could not have done that to him. But Mr.
Jobarteh, you cannot prove that you are not in the country when this event occurred. This event occurred in November of 1996.
Let me confirm from my passport, please.
And during this time, you were at the NIA and not at the police.
That is not true.
Well, let the evidence speak for itself. Just a moment, let me just produce it.
On the 5th of November,
by the way, I just missed a document that I need to exhibit. Jollof News also produced an article. Says a former Gambian Attorney General and Minister of Justice Lamin has justified the enforcement of the controversial death penalty by the then APRC government of Yaya Jammeh. I would add this to the body of evidence. In fact, this article goes forward to attribute statements to him personally, not the Ministry of Justice. He said, Jobarteh, the article says, Jobarteh, who was reportedly present when the prisoners were dragged out of their cells to be killed, and was also at the military firing range in Birkama where the dead bodies were counted before being taken for disposal. Said it was legal and in line with the laws of the Gambia. And quote, Yaya Jammeh is not carrying out the death sentences because he wants to do it, but he is under an obligation to do it according to the laws of the land. Jobarteh told the delegation.
Yaya Jammeh mantra nyunkunge kano kato afanambe lual ni sartol del koto anu fasa ke kwa nyimfaro nyinka ke.
But in fact also there was an appearance on TV on GRTS which says it is claimed you made those justifications.
And
he went on to say, he said the executed inmates had committed heinous crimes and were tried and found guilty by the courts. Citing the case of the Senegalese woman Tabara Samba as an example, Jobarteh said, the executed woman poured hot oil in the ear of her husband, whose body was burnt and scorched by the substance. And then he asked, what country will allow people to commit such crimes with impunity? He asked. Quote again. Quoting Mr. Jobarteh. Anyone with a capacious, maybe this should be a capricious, but it says a capacious mind would allow that what the government has done is what should be done. You cannot just allow people to kill people and they get away with it. If it were your relative who was the victim of such a grotesque crime, what would you do if the perpetrator is allowed to go free? He further asked. This statement is attributed to you by Jollof News. In fact, the Independent also. And in fact, this is London. This is Independent in Ireland. It says, the last paragraph, Lamin Babadinding, the Gambian Justice Minister, has insisted that all executions will be carried out regardless of international pressure. Lamin Jobarteh memunu minister memara lual nin tingola abe ko faro nyinga be kelale hanning nyaonya nyaran ko dunia la kaful be ba ko nyinga no masara ka nyaonya ka balanga la ibara be kelale. The more we dig, ninga nintara kono nyame, the more we see the footprints and the hands of the Minister of Justice in all this. We would exhibit all these documents, Madam Chairperson. Do you have anything to say about that?
Indeed. The one by, I believe it was Jollof News.
Jollof News
Yes. These were meetings held in the office of the Vice President.
Vice President official.
Different divisions or regions will come and they will be given appointment or dates as to when they will meet the ministers in the office of the Vice President. I'm not sure of my exact words, some of which I do not attribute to, but I know I made certain statements during those meetings regarding the justification.
So you justified it?
You see, what I do know, Mr. Fall, I am on the oath, I cannot lie.
Mr. Jobarteh, just answer the question. We all saw you when you took the oath. Just answer the question. Did you give justification?
As far as I am concerned, yes.
And were you truthful and honest to the Gambian people?
Yes.
You sat here and condemned these executions. You sat here and said they violated every law in the book. And on that occasion, you justified them. These two positions are in direct contradiction with one another. I will move on. It looks like there's no response. Thank you very much. Mr. Jobarteh, take a look at this document. Mr. Jobarteh, could you tell us,
my counsel,
kindly tell the commission the title of that document?
Mr. Lamin A.M.S. Jobarteh redesignation.
What is the date of the document?
19th of August, 1996.
From where does it emanate?
Permanent Secretary, Personal Management Office.
Permanent Secretary, Personal Management Office.
Addressed to who?
Ya keto nyinki Jumalea. Nyana Jumale.
Well, I would imagine it was addressed to the Permanent Secretary, Personal Management Office. Sorry about that.
From who does it emanate?
He did not state. He did only say PR/C/D.
Have you ever seen this document?
No.
Mr. Jobarteh, that too would be most shocking. Today is the day of law.
Mr. Jobarteh,
but if I did see this letter, the only letter I saw was the one that was written to me regarding the redesignation.
Okay, could you read that letter?
The above Mr. Lamin A.M.S. Jobarteh was recently transferred from the police police agency via your memo EST/P7/813/105 dated 27th June 1996. In the same vein, he was appointed a Deputy Security Commander Grade 10 by our letter PR/C/D/0924/2 of 27 June 1996.
Okay, go to the next document.
It says appointment.
Ago kami ya tombondiro.
And address to me. I'm directed to inform you that you have been redesignated as Deputy Security Commander on transfer to the National Intelligence Agency, Office of the President, with effect from 4th July 1996, via EST P7813 in brackets 104.
Have you ever seen this one?
Yes, I did.
So this is your redesignation and transfer to the NIA. Effective from which date?
4th July 1996.
July karo telefolo 1996.
So by August, by November of 1996, you were firmly in the NIA.
August kata November kang wato benu NIA.
Provided I am still in the country.
Well, you have denied being in the NIA at that time. This conclusively puts you firmly in the NIA. Thank you.
I was never privy to this letter. At the time I was making that statement.
You said you saw it. How could you have moved to the NIA without seeing this letter?
I'm not saying that I did not see the letter addressed to me. That I did see.
But that is what I am referring to.
But the one written to the PMO.
But the important one.
The one addressed to me.
It's the one addressed to you. That you saw.
Yes.
And it firmly says that you were at the NIA from the 1st of July, 1996. So that puts that point to rest, that you were at the NIA by November of 1996.
November 1996.
That may be true. But I'm showing a stamp. I want to show you a stamp here which shows that I was not in the country.
But it left a stamp Show
us.
Tandina.
I take it that that is the right passport, correct? That was the passport you were using at that time. Would you answer the question?
That is the passport I was using at the time.
Thank you very much.
The stamp says, on the 8th of October, 1996.
Stamp August Karo Tilse, 1996. October Karo Tilse, 1996.
Yes.
Does that mean that you are not in Gambia in November 1996?
Yes. Because it says depart.
Okay. Could you send me the passport?
It's down at the left-hand corner.
Okay, you see, Mr. Jobarteh.
Yeah, Mr. Jobarteh.
What you said is misleading.
How?
Grossly misleading.
How?
Okay. Nadi. And I'll show it. You have a number of stamps on the passport. You would agree?
On
that page, on the relevant page. And they appear in different colors. You would agree? Okay. The color, the stamp that shows depart is from Senu Bamako in 8 October 1996. That is when you depart Bamako. It does not say that you departed Gambia. So you would agree with that? Take a look at it and then send it back to me. First of all, show the chair this. This is standard on, and this is with this Senu Bamako. Let the chair see it. And
Deputy Chair Follow.
The deputy chair. Thank you. Sorry, Dr. Cisse. Thank you. Could you bring it back, please?
You can proceed. I've seen it.
Thank you. Perhaps maybe at a later stage we would make colored print. Just a moment.
So demanding.
And on the next page,
okay,
9 October 1996, seen at Yundum.
1996. Yeje Yundum. Yeje Yundum. Wala me jita na Yundum.
Am I correct, Mr. Jobarteh?
Mr. Jobarteh, wala mbang. Ntilin talabang.
There are 3 different stamps here.
Does it have seen at Yundum on 9 October 1996?
Yundum 9 October 1996.
So it shows that you flew from Bamako
to
Yundum.
That is correct.
Thank you very much. So show us when you travel out of the country again. Maybe a microscope would help.
I wear glasses, but I'm not that blind to use my microscope.
Mr. Jobarteh, could you kindly pass the warrant that you may have in your possession?
I don't have any warrant.
You don't have? Okay.
Let me say, all I have is my passport, and this one, and those 2.
It's all right. Yeah. Thank you. Do you need help, Mr. Jobarteh?
Pardon me?
Do you need help?
No, I don't. Thank you, anyway.
But can we move, please?
Well, he wants to show us that he has traveled out of the country.
No, I am wrong.
Thank you very much. Indeed, very wrong, Mr. Jobarteh. As the witnesses put you there, when these terrible events happened, not just the victims put you there, your own colleagues put you there. Balo Kante said you tortured him, and he identified you personally. Out of the many people who were present at the time, he chose you out as the person who put him between your legs and brutally tortured him.
That is not true.
Well, your colleagues, in fact, Balo's colleagues, also say you were there and you tortured them.
That's far as I can recall, I only had the testimony of Balo Kante and Omar Diouf Damfa. And no other person.
That is two people who have incriminated you.
Who are those?
The two people you had, Balo Kante and Omar Diouf Damfa. They incriminate you in the torture. But you just happen to have been there. You working at the right unit that was doing the tortures.
Let me say this. At no time have I been a member of any panel investigating any offense. If you were to bring the register of the panelists, you will never see my name there, as a member. That's number one.
On that point, Mr. Jobarteh, let's just clear that issue. Nobody named you as a member of the panel. You are branded as experts, yourself and Fodebari, who were tasked with the responsibility of interrogating these people. And it was by beating and punches and kicking.
I am saying, as far as I am concerned, that is not true. I beg your pardon?
I was asking you to wait for the translation.
Okay. Do you?
I'm sorry, thank you.
Okay,
do you agree that at the time you were working at the NIA?
Yes.
Do you agree that?
May I ask?
Let me ask my questions. Do you agree that at the time you were working for the investigation section of the NIA? Well,
you know why?
You would be the lone NIA officer who appeared here who denied the fact that you were working with, quote unquote, with the investigation section.
Please,
I am not saying...
Please wait for the interpretation.
Once again, I apologize.
Interpretation,
Council, come again with the question.
Council, the question.
Would you agree that at the time you were working with the investigations department?
Witness your answer, please.
Proceed.
No.
I said your answer, please.
Okay. Now, at some point, I did some work with them.
Are you disowning them now?
I never said I own them.
Well, the witnesses said you own them. You are number two.
If you were to allow me, I will explain. For example, Arisambu said, no, that issue of cutting the nipples of Balokante.
Mr. Witness, let's get to the question. The question is whether you were working with the investigation department.
You see, what you need to understand, to be able to get to the point that you want to know.
But this is a simple question, Mr. Witness. You have asked to explain it. We've allowed you to explain it. Don't take us to something else. Let's just answer things and do things methodically, like lawyers do.
I cannot recall exactly when I started working with them. And I would not agree with the fact that for the entire period, that when I was at the NIA, I worked with them.
Salmina Drame testified here. He said you were number two at the investigations section at the time.
Salimina Drame yala sedandro di janne ako andu itela munu nyato ko fulan jangoti nyato ko itela ba no kan wato men na kiskisiro nyimbe kerinje.
Is he lying?
Fani yalla bang.
Yes, he's lying.
Well, your boss at the time, Fodebari, said he was the officer in charge of investigations and you were next to him.
Ako atela munu nyato ko te kiskisiro bundara andu itela ba no kan.
Even though at times you worked with the DG, you were working with him in investigations and you were number 2. Is he lying?
Wato do ako wato do etin DG ka do ko kala bari wato kiskisiro ni wato ko inabe do ko la nyokan jele fo abe fanial.
The fact that he has not stated when I actually started working under him in earnest.
Aduka kada masinandi ko watu mi yalan konte watu mi fonga mi yalan kon na do ko dati no wala.
That calls something else in issue.
Mr. Jobarteh, let us not go around, skirt around the issues. He was asked questions specifically about the investigations of Balo Kante. He was not asked about any other time, any time imagined or hypothetical. No, it was the time of this particular case. You are number 2 in the investigation department.
Ya nyinin kamena wala nyum kiskisiro nyum kunyati anu ako itala number 2 ti wala mitala nyaton ko nolan ko ti o kiskisiri bundado je o wato.
I know for a fact
ako itamala ko
that for the periods that I had worked under him, at no time was I involved in any torture. No, did I see anybody?
But can you tell us when you worked with him?
See, Mr. Fal, you interrupted me when in the middle of my explanation.
Well, Mr. Jobarteh, if you go off a tangent, we will bring you back. Let's just answer the questions asked and not go to imagined questions or comfortable zones.
In the first place, I do not know when Balo Kante claimed that I had tortured him.
We told you it was November of 1996. Were you working with investigations or were you not?
I believe I was working with investigations at the time.
Perfect. And that was also another historic event. You could not have forgotten. It was the first armed attack in this country from outside. The very first.
Follow. You see, this very issue, I know for sure that I never ever caught the nipple of Balo Kante.
Okay. Let's do it this way.
Number 2.
Let's do it this way. Mr. Jobarteh, were you there when he was apprehended?
No.
Did you see Balo Kante?
At some point I saw him.
At some point when?
I cannot recall when exactly.
Was it the day he was apprehended?
I don't even remember the date on which he was apprehended. Because they were apprehended from Farafenya.
Were you at the NIA premises the day he was brought in?
Frankly, I do not remember.
I don't remember is a very comfortable zone. But Balo Kante remembers. He remembered that you received him at the gate. And it is not those who open the gates who receive people. Those people just open and close. Balo Kante recalls that a senior officer, a barrister and solicitor of the Supreme Court of the Gambia at the time received him at the gate.
Balo Kante, in his testimony, never said a barrister. You are only.
Thank God he didn't. Thank God he didn't.
You see, Mr. Fal, do you want me to continue answering your questions?
Of course you would.
Well, don't keep interrupting me then.
No, Mr. Jobarteh, if you want to stray away, we will bring you back. Just answer the questions asked.
Well, I never received Balo Kante at the gate.
Do you know who received him at the gate?
I do not know.
Did you see him when he arrived?
At some point, yes, I did see him.
How many minutes after he arrived?
I frankly do not remember. How many minutes?
When was the first time you came into contact with him?
That is a difficult question to answer. I don't know.
You only ask difficult questions here. He said you took him into a room and you started beating him. Hundreds of people worked at the NIA. He did not identify anybody. He said, Lamin Jobarteh. Put me in between his legs and he beat me.
Do you know that I was with Balo Kante at Mile 2 prisons?
Yes.
And he was the keeper of some of my items.
That may be the case.
And in addition to that, I was with the friend of my wife, when we went to Babylon to settle an issue regarding a plot of land that my wife bought from there. When I had read an article in Fatou Kamara's newspaper, he wanted to shake hands with me and I refused. I told him because you are a liar.
Well, that is your version, Mr. Jobarteh.
So is his version.
Just a moment.
No, let me finish.
But Mr. Jobarteh, I cannot sit here and allow you to just talk and talk. You have answered the questions. You have to allow me to ask the question. Otherwise, I just keep quiet. You lead yourself and say whatever you want. Balo Kante also on the oath told the commission that at Mile 2 you apologized to him for what you have done to him. And he has forgiven you. Okay, then now let's move to the relevant issues. What happened at the NIA premises?
Go ahead.
Continue.
Your colleagues, the people you worked with, put you in the same room as Balo Kante. When he alleges you tortured him, do you deny you were in that room with him?
Not to the point of torturing him. I may have been, because you see, the place is such that I cannot avoid being in the room. That's where I used to work at. I put him in the room and tortured him. That is a lie.
But in that room you came into contact with him. And he was not there alone. It was with you and your other colleagues.
That I do not remember.
Well, of course you did not work alone. You must have worked in a team. And the team was very well known to you, who were members of this team. Correct?
That is correct.
And you know it was for the Bari? Correct? And you know it was Baba Saho? Well, Baba Saho was not there at the time. Just a moment, let me just get the names of the people who were there at the time. Salmina Drame was there?
I have never worked with Salmina Drame.
I didn't say you worked with him. I said Salmina Drame was there.
That is not true either.
Well, none of your colleagues denied that he was there. Harisambu testified here. He put you there. He put Fodebari there. He put Salimina Drame there. And others. Is he also lying?
Regarding the mode of the torture, he was lying.
Okay. So what was the mode of the torture?
I said his explanation on the mode of the torture, he is lying. I have never ever...
So tell us the mode of the torture.
What I'm saying here is, I have never ever lifted a finger at Barrow Kante.
Mr. Jobarteh, you are here facing the nation. You are a former Minister of Justice. You are a judge of the superior courts of this country. You are a legal practitioner. You are under oath.
Yes.
Was Barrow Kante tortured in that office?
Not that I know of.
More Kalamata.
Of course, you will debunk because you know pretty well that Barrow Kante was tortured in that office. That's why you are hiding behind I do not know. How could it have happened in that office and you wouldn't know?
If I had seen it, I would have said so.
Well,
but what Salmina said, he never said he physically saw me torture. No, did Harisambu say he physically saw me torture Barakante?
They said all of, excuse me, Mr. Jobarteh, they said all of you were having a go.
I am saying.
All of you were beating him.
I am saying. Harisambu was lying. He said he had it here in his testimony. But he never said he saw anybody torturing Balokante. Play the tape, please.
Harry behaved just like all NIA officers. First, they started with, I did not know, I did not see it, I peeped, okay, I saw, I did not participate, but it happened. That's the template. And you are following the same template. You started with, I did not know, I did not see Balekante, I came across him later. Okay, ultimately, you met him just minutes after he was arrested, and ultimately, you happened to be in the same room with him where he was tortured. From I did not know it, I did not see it, to we were all in the same room.
Mr. Fall, don't
Can we have the interpretation, please?
It's too long.
Don't worry
okay,
about
it's okay, don't worry. Okay then,
Mr. Jobarteh, your evidence has morphed from I was out of town, I wasn't here. Do you deny telling the commission that?
No, I did not.
Exactly.
Can I finish, please?
But
I eventually rectified myself.
No,
I was wrong.
No, Mr. Jobarteh, you were caught. You were caught on that point with a document which puts you firmly in the country, and you tried another one. And you tried another one and showed us a stamp in your passport claiming it showed that you were out of the country, and I pointed it out to you that this stamp showed that you left Bamako and not Gambia, and showed you the stamp that brought you back to Gambia, which makes you in Gambia when this event happened. That is when you considered the point, Mr. Jobarteh. Isn't that what happened? Yes,
Anybody
could make mistakes.
Oh, that was a mistake. You see, Mr. Jobarteh, I can accept...
You see, Mr. Fall, this is your problem. You don't listen to me.
Mr. Jobarteh, this is your problem. You don't listen to me.
Okay, then I will not answer your questions.
Well,
I maintain my right.
You don't have a right to not answer questions. The right you have is not to incriminate yourself.
Jobarteh, with all due respect, I think you will have to answer the questions. That's what we're here for.
Well, Sir Jobarteh, bunya be danda dami. Nyin karol mi ke nyin kare nyin taka jabile.
Madam Deputy Chairperson,
Deputy Chair.
I have every reason to answer his questions.
He
also needs to explain to me, he also needs to listen to me to explain my side of the story. But each time I want to say something, he interrupts.
When there's a need to explain, you'll be given the chance to explain. But please answer the question.
Ni watu bije miala nyenta ka fo akata nyame mbo watu dire yafo bare jab nyin karol fo wol jabi.
Mr. Jobarteh, the point I was making is
you
could not have made a mistake about not seeing Balo Kante and not knowing anything about it. That could not have been a mistake.
I never said so.
No more for Nyamadem.
I was saying, as far as not the stamps on the passport are concerned. When I looked at it more carefully, I clearly stated that I made a mistake. Not that I have not seen Balo Kante at the NIA.
Mr. Jobarteh, when the allegation was made to you, you clearly stated that you were not in the country. If you did not say so, there would have been no need to look into your passport.
When I made that statement, I said, let me confirm from my passport.
So you made the statement?
See, this is what I keep saying, Madam Chairperson.
Mr. Jobarteh, I just responded to the statement that you made. You said, when I made that statement, then I thought I could see it in my passport.
No.
So the issue is you made the statement.
I never said it that way. I said, let me confirm from my passport.
That is the same as let me look it up from my passport.
No, it's not the same.
So when you look up something, what's the purpose? Isn't it to confirm?
Mr. Fall, I wish you would always give me the opportunity or listen to me to explain. I'm human. And it is not always that I am right. No, I could make mistakes. You see again? Where I make mistakes, and after that I confirm, and I did confirm, and I said I was wrong. I think that is human.
Can I say something now?
Yes, you can.
When you said it, Mr. Jobarteh, you knew in your head that you had seen Balo Kante minutes after he was arrested. You knew you were in the same room with him where he was interrogated. You only said that because you intended to mislead. That is why you said you were not in the country. Let me confirm. But you knew in your head that you saw him minutes after he was arrested, he was brought in, and you were in the same room with him.
That is incorrect, because you wouldn't know what is in my head. As far as I am concerned, I'm not denying the fact that I did not see Balo Kante at the NIA.
Then why did you say you were out of the country? I'm just prompting you. Why did you say you were out of the country?
No, don't prompt me, because I'm coming to the point.
Arrived at.
But at what point in time did I see Balo Kante is what I said I could not recall.
Well, let me correct you. You just agreed that it was minutes after.
I never said minutes after.
The commission has the record. The commissioners would look at it.
One thing I do know, Like I said earlier, I cannot deny seeing Balo Kante. But I deny receiving him. Because that is not my role.
But what would your role have been to question him?
Part of my work involves writing of reports, opinions.
Answer the question.
I'm coming to your question. You cannot force me what to answer.
But you are asked, is this water? And then you're telling me if you go into the forest, you would find a well? No, tell me whether this is water, yes or no. Would your role be to ask him questions?
Your question was, what is my role or what was my role? That was your question.
That was not my question.
What is your question?
So it helps to listen. The question is, was your role to ask him questions, to interrogate him, to interview him?
Yes. My role.
Did you do that?
I think so.
You don't know. You don't know.
See, Mr. Fall, this is not funny.
But it is funny, Mr. Jobarteh.
It is not.
But it is funny. You are asked whether a high-profile rebel who has attacked the country, killed 8 soldiers, brought to your office, you are to interrogate him, and you are asked now whether you asked him questions you can't remember. Isn't that shocking?
I did not say that I cannot remember.
What did you say?
I said, yes, indeed, but...
No, you never said that, Mr. Jobarteh.
In any event.
In what event?
Mr. Fall, if you want me to continue answering your questions, clearly, allow me to finish my statements.
Mr. Jobarteh, I am not preventing you from answering questions.
Yes, you are.
In fact, all I want is for you to answer questions. And we stop skirting around the edges and running away from the main issue. Did you ask him questions?
Yes, I did.
Finally, you are sure that you asked him questions.
As far as I can recall.
Were you the only person there when you asked him questions?
That I cannot remember.
You see? Well, how can you recall asking him questions? And you cannot even recall that you were there with some other people. The brain does not function that way. This is a clear case of selective amnesia. You just want to remember a particular thing and you want to forget about everything else.
That is not true.
Who were you there with?
I believe we were all there, plus the juniors that were working at the unit. If I can properly
in a split second, you have moved from I don't remember, and precisely pop, all of the information is now in your head. You're not only able to remember that you were there with others, but you were there with the genius with whom you worked. That is very nice, Mr. Jobarteh.
No, you are wrong. Your statement is wrong. I am saying, you see, the unit is not a one-man place. You have, I think, 2 or 3 senior officers. Well, you can laugh.
But I am conferring with my colleague. Please, answer the question.
My answer is, there are about 2 senior officers with some other junior officers. Certainly, if there is a questioning going on, I must have also asked questions.
And just let's dissect that. I must have also asked questions.
Yes.
In the English language, you are suggesting a probability, a possibility. You are not saying emphatically that I asked questions. So it seems to suggest that you don't even know. You are not even sure that you asked questions. I must have.
Ya ni fo nyame wala ndi man la fon fo ya ni kan ni karo le katuba ko mem fo wala nyindi ko mba ni ngala le wala nyindi ko man senaya.
As far as I am concerned, I must have asked questions.
As far as Balokante is concerned, you did ask questions.
As far as I am concerned, I must have asked questions.
So you're not even sure?
Certainly.
That too is mighty disappointing.
It's unfortunate.
It is indeed unfortunate.
Yes. Because you want to force words into my mouth, which I will not accept.
I want to bring out the truth. And that's the only thing I am interested in. The truth and nothing but the truth. And it doesn't seem that you are answering the questions with certainty in your head as to what you did and what you did not do. Mr. Jobarteh.
Matters that happened some 10, 15 or so years ago. At a split of an eye, I will be able to remember them.
You're also hiding behind I can't remember. It's a long time ago. Well, the victims will always remember.
I don't like that statement that I'm hiding behind.
Mr. Jobarteh, this is what we lawyers do. This is language that we all use. You have used it many times. I have used it many times. In fact, when we teach advocacy, this is how we help train them to ask questions. It comes out naturally. So accept it. Let's move on. This is the way we do things. We are lawyers, Mr. Jobarteh.
I will not accept that.
All right. You suddenly cannot remember the details.
Yes, indeed.
But your colleagues put you in there. And they said they were all beating. You were all beating. They remembered. And I would rather believe the person who remembers than believe the person who does not remember.
I cannot remember all of us jointly beating one individual.
So which beatings do you remember?
What I do remember was the torture that he suffered in the hands of the soldiers prior to having him brought to the NIA. And mark you.
And what do you remember about that?
I remember that he was in serious pains.
Yes.
That I do remember.
Inflicted on him?
Yes.
By who?
When it was done, I was not there by the army to be able to tell who exactly did it.
How do you know it was by the army?
They brought him in that condition.
But you know, Balokante never said he was beaten on the way coming. Balokante said he was beaten the moment he was entrusted to you at the entrance of the NIA, at the gate where you received him. They started beating him there.
I'm saying that Balokante was never ever entrusted to me.
Did you see him when he was entering the NIA?
Quite frankly, I did not see him when he was entering.
Did you see him when he was being walked towards Invest?
No, I did not see him.
Did you come into Invest when he got in there?
Not at the very moment of his arrival.
You went there soon after his arrival?
Yes.
And you saw him?
Certainly I saw him.
How was he dressed?
How was he?
Dressed.
Wow. I don't remember.
He was
that.
naked, wasn't he?
No, he wasn't.
He said he was naked.
Well, he might have said so, but as far as I know, he was wearing his clothes.
What kind of clothes?
That I cannot remember. Something that happened about almost 17 years ago. How can I remember that?
Was he wearing long pants, shirt?
I believe so.
Well, the NIA modus operandi was to strip the person naked. During interrogation. Wasn't that the modus operandi of the NIA?
I have never ever seen anybody stripped naked. Also to be their modus operandi.
Well, the irony here, Mr. Jobarteh, is that all the victims who've been to the NIA at that time have all consistently described the same modus operandi where they are stripped naked, sat on the floor and interrogated.
That may be so. I have never ever witnessed any such act.
Did you witness slaps?
I cannot remember.
See, did you witness kicks?
Did
you witness kicks?
No, I don't remember.
Did you witness any beatings?
I do not remember.
Hiding behind, I do not remember.
You see, I'm not hiding behind anything. I'm speaking the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
But Mr. Jobarteh, what you do not rule out is that these tortures happened in your presence. All you just say is that you don't remember.
I don't remember seeing any torture.
Well, your colleagues testified that there were tortures and you were there. The victims also testified that there was torture and you were there.
I am saying they are lying.
Mr. Jobarteh, you and Fode Bari were in charge of interrogating this person.
That may be so, but does not mean that we have tortured them.
Mr. Jobarteh, the beating was during the questioning. That's what everybody says.
I deny that.
So now you remembered, but initially you do not remember. You see how you're changing?
From the word go, I kept saying that I do not remember Baro Kante being beaten by me. And subsequently, I said that I do not remember seeing him being tortured by any one of us. That's what I said.
But that is the irony. Initially it was you do not remember. But how could you not remember whether something like that happened or did not happen? But now you are certain it did not happen. So you remember now.
Indeed. Memories can be recollected.
So in a split second you did not remember.
It was not a split second.
In a split second you fully remember. And you say it did not happen.
Yes, it did not happen.
Why would the victims and your colleagues all incriminate you?
You see,
in spite of all the people who are there.
Let me answer the question. Number one, Harry Samu said he had it here.
No.
Play the tape, please.
No.
Play the tape, please.
Mr. Jobarteh, could you calm down? And
Mr. Jobarteh,
I am telling you that Harry Sambu's evidence moved. Like your evidence has moved from I do not know, I do not remember, until yes, I saw this, until he says yes, it happened. That is...
Let me also tell you that if Harry says he saw me torture anybody, he is lying. Do you know what Harry Samu once did to us?
I don't want to make this a Tesante Bantaba. He too may want to...
I am telling you that Harry was lying. Harry almost played us into the hands of the enemies in Ivory Coast.
That is not a matter for the commission.
Because it boils down to my evidence.
In all due respect, that has nothing to do with this.
Very well.
So the situation is this. What happened to Bale Kante and Yaya Drame is what happened to those who were subsequently arrested and brought in.
Who is Yaya Drame?
Yaya Drame is the person who was brought in the second time.
I don't remember that individual.
Well, he subsequently died because of the torture.
That I am not aware of.
And you see, Mr. Witness, you guys were in charge of the interrogation. He could not have been tortured in your office while he was under your possession and under your control without your consent or without your
He could also have been tortured in my absence. Which I would doubt very much.
So why are we considering that?
Considering what?
What you've just said.
Because you said no, we tortured him.
No. What is the significance of what you just said? He may have been tortured in my absence, but I doubt that would happen. So you huffed and puffed. You approbate and reprobate.
That's not true.
Well, you stated a positive and then you negatived it.
No, that's not true either.
He might have been tortured in my absence, but I doubt it.
Yes. Because I cannot say for certainty that it did happen.
So why are we considering it?
You see, what you need to understand, as I speak here today, a lot of people are listening, which is understandable. And people can go over each other's story and explain the same. So, for example, if Harry Sambu was shown, he saw us now talking about Balo Kante. Why did he say that he had it here?
Mr. Jobarteh,
Mr. Jobarteh,
you have raised this issue 5 times and I have responded to it. I will respond to it anymore. Let us move on.
Continue.
Please. Omar Diouf Damfa.
Omar Diouf Damfa.
He arrived at the NIA days after Balo Kante and Yaya Drama. He also described the same thing. And he incriminated you amongst those who tortured him.
If I am, if the tape is replayed, Omar Diouf Damfa never said that I was part of those that tortured him. As far as I can recollect, he said I was the one pleading on his behalf.
Did he say that? Well, if he did say that, I have missed that.
I haven't missed it.
Let's play the video of Omar Diouf Damfa.
No, Omar Diouf Damfa la video play.
That was when the NIA started their work.
We are interested in that.
We were handcuffed behind our backs. They will sit you on the floor. The air condition is on. And whatever part of your body they are beating you on. The machine that they use to charge car batteries, that is what they use to electrocute people. They will put one on your toe, one in your ear. But when they press that, even while that air condition is on, you'll be sweating. You don't even know what is happening. And the beating is going on. The beating is going on. When they are tired, they will take you back.
Okay, tell us who in the NIA was responsible for meting out this torture on you.
Number one.
Fodebari, number one.
Salmina Drame number two.
Salmina Drame number two.
I will say that because Salmina,
he comes from the same place as I have come from. There's only a path between our compounds. And the day that I was arrested and I was sitting down, he said, these people, we should not waste bullets on them. We should just take them to the Burua reserve and throw them for the lions. I raised my head and I looked at Salmina and I bowed down again. The God who is one, Salmina came and found me in mile 2. But I did not wish that for him. But just that in this world, people should be very careful.
And who else was responsible for torturing you?
Babadinding Jobarteh.
Babadinding Jobarteh was there. He was not doing the beating. God knows, he did not beat me.
Was he present?
Yes, he was there sitting down.
Did he see you tortured whilst he was there?
Yes, he was sitting.
Did he stop it?
No.
Did he say anything, Babadinding Jobarteh?
Now and then, if they say they want to do something, I used to hear him.
Allow the interpreter.
Now and then, when they want to do something, I used to hear him to tell them to stop. But that was not in all occasions.
Would you say,
Mr.
Jobarteh?
Mr. Jobarteh,
as a lawyer,
loyalty.
How would you analyze that evidence? You sat there. All of you are interrogating. He is being beaten. You only say, okay, stop now when you want to do something.
No, he did not say so. That's not the way he put it. That if they decide to do something, I always tell them, no, don't do that.
Okay. So would you say that if that evidence is accepted, it is considered as true? It does not implicate you in torture? What does that evidence mean?
I was not involved in any torture of him.
That is very good legal analysis. Thank you very much. The commission would give it its own analysis and would arrive at its own conclusions. But the law of complicity is very clear. The law of conspiracy is very clear. I leave it at that. Let us.
And I wouldn't respond to that.
Yes, you can't respond.
No. I don't want to respond to that. Because for one thing, I am certain that Omar Diouf Damfa had never lifted a finger at him.
But Mr. Jobarteh,
we have had and he clearly said so. When I said it, you denied it.
Omar Diouf Damfa,
and you were not there when what they are claiming to have happened to them, you were not there.
But you were there.
I wasn't. Let me put it that way.
Well, this one is now bizarre. It's bordering on the comical.
You see, it's his word against my word.
So you say you were not there?
He said I was there. In fact, he stammered, or he paused for a while before calling my name.
Yes. And that is indicative of what?
That he does not know. He's not certain as to whether or not I was there.
When you go home, watch this video. You would see 300 times you have stammered and gagged. You have given the commissioners how to interpret that. So, for you, it seems like everybody lied against you. Balo Kante, he lied against you?
Yes.
What's his name again? Omar Diouf Damfa lied?
Omar Diouf Damfa never said I did anything to him.
Omar Diouf Damfa said you were there sitting while he was being tortured and you did nothing about it.
Yes, he is lying.
Thank you very much. But he said it. He said you were there. Good. Salmina Drame said these people were tortured. You denied knowledge of torture. He's lying. So this guy, Harisambu, he accepted that these people were tortured. He too is lying.
Yes,
you see, even Samsidin Sar, I saw an article attributed to him. He said he arrived in anger and he kicked Balo Kante. That too is a lie?
I don't know.
You see,
Mr. It does not mean that I am always at the investigation unit at all times. You see, my role when I first came to the NIA, I served under the analysis unit.
But Mr. Jobarteh, this time around, the time that concerned us, you have accepted that you are at investigations.
I was assigned to investigation does not mean that I'm always there. Because a lot of the time, it is the DG that would require my services.
Mr. Jobarteh, you are a lawyer. At that time, you were a lawyer. At that time, you were a lawyer. You knew this person was tortured.
I disagree.
You did not know that. Well, you just told the commission you saw him in agony. You saw him in pain.
When he was being brought by the army.
So obviously, you knew he was tortured.
Certainly.
You allowed an interrogation of him.
See, maybe in as much as
you are stammering.
You see, I'm not stammering. And I don't think that's funny, Mr. Fall. See, the only reason why you are behaving this way, you are trying to satisfy somebody.
Somebody who, Mr. Jobarteh?
Later on, I will explain all that.
Mr. Jobarteh, you said something. It was funny. And I laughed. Well, maybe I suffer the same with everybody else who laughed.
It is yours that I observed.
Mr. Jobarteh, I am sorry that I laughed. I am sorry that I found it funny. I am sorry that you said those words.
Thank you.
Baraka.
Accepted.
Proceed, please.
Continue.
Omar Damfa never said that I tortured him. That's number one.
I did not say so, did I?
You made an analysis of the testimonies of individuals. So I am also trying to come to their testimonies one after the other. This is why when you interrupt, I tend to lose track. However, Harry Sambu lied when he said he saw me Tocho Balokante or burning a plastic bag. That is a lie.
And the cutting of the nipple too?
I'm coming. That the cutting of the nipple, he said he had it here. He never saw me do that.
That is
and
true.
Besides, assuming without conceding that he saw me do that, as a director or deputy director at the time, what should he have done?
You have asked me a question. This time round, I would answer it. And Harry Sambu said, all of you were in this torture. The organization wanted to torture a confession out of these people. And that is what all of you have done. You including.
I'm saying he is lying. I don't want to use the word pathological liar, but he is lying.
Well, the lies could be on the other foot. I don't think so. I have no further questions.
Thank you, lead counsel.
Thank
you, witness. Interpreters, very, very sorry that you've had a long day, and the media and medical team. but we'll round off very soon. Commissioners, do you have any questions?
Commissioner
Commissioner Jallo.
Commissioner Jallo left a
Witness,
Sedo.
What was the essence of producing your passport? Was it to mislead the council or just to excuse yourself? Could you please explain?
Dalilo min fo na yela passport o bonni. Nyinku flol munem il left la bank pour que fam bonde la bank but fo il left la pour que commission of filin di bank. Nyim flol jumala kilim.
Madam Chair, I think the witness needs a few minutes. Could you allow him to step out and come back? Madam Chair, we have just received one piece of information, which I would love to play before the Commission once the material is able to download. It's being processed now. Hopefully by the time we finish, we may be able to play it before the Commission.
Madam Chair, fendole bembulu mi alon ko ba katakane bruka download. Ni wakata dorong melefla ko fintin di Commission o nyati no.
Okay, permission granted. Witness, can you answer Imam Jallo's question, please?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
The question was, you produced your passport before this commission. Was it with the intention to mislead the council or to excuse yourself?
In the first place, I looked at these passports. In fact, I searched for them for a long time. And finally, I saw them last night and discovered certain stamps on them, which up to the time that I was taking them out of this envelope, I was with the belief that I was not in the country at the time. However, when I gave it to council and I looked at it carefully, I discovered that I was wrong.
Commissioner.
I have answered the question.
No, you have not. What was the intention?
Well, my intention was, if my mistaken belief were true, is to show that I was not in the country at the time that was being stipulated.
And if it is true that you are in the country?
Pardon me?
If it is true that you are then in the country?
Yes, it's true that I was in the country.
if it's true that you are in the country, where do you stand on the scale? What is the purpose?
Mr. Commissioner, I have stated my position very clearly. That I was under the mistaken belief that I was not in the country at the time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner C.
Commissioner C la kane nyininka.
Kuto Lamin jerejef na nga def.
Jama rek sant Yalla.
Lamin, thank you so much.
Alhamdulillah. Limay lacc moy Yaya Jammeh bi mu waté ne ñi su len baxalé dina lek mbaam mu nan sangara.
What I want to ask you, where Yaya Jammeh stated that if he forgive these people, he may eat pork or drink alcohol.
Digante bi mu waté ak bi mu len ré ñaata fan la?
What was the interval at the time of killing them? And making that statement. I cannot remember that. Between me and Allah.
Okay. Commissioner Samba.
Commissioner Samba.
Thank you very much, Chair. Lamin.
I want to ask you one thing, whether you will ask forgiveness from the Gambian people.
That is a difficult question to answer. For me. Because if I have to ask for forgiveness, what in your opinion should I be asking for?
To my own thinking, because
you should ask Gambians for forgiveness. The reason being, all of you who were in positions, the way and manner you're supposed to carry out your functions,
because of fear,
you didn't carry out your function as it's supposed to be due to the fear you have.
And the
reason why you were placed there is to help people. Make sure the rule of law work accordingly. And to protect us. But by then, the atmosphere by then, no one was there who was able to carry out the job, their functions properly. This is the reason why I'm asking you whether you can ask your people for forgiveness.
That is a very, very tangible question. No.
Yes, very tangible question.
Or do you want me to respond in Mandinka?
Yes, you can do so.
Okay, grateful. Now, by
then, the atmosphere by then, no, there was no one in this country who was within himself, him or herself, unless Yaya Jammeh alone. Yaya Jammeh will meet a soldier reciting a Quran. He will take a cane and start hitting the person. And so many things like that. Based on that, I can ask for forgiveness. And I'm also asking for forgiveness.
Yes.
But this is the
reason why I'm asking you to ask forgiveness. I said two things. I should ask forgiveness, and I'm doing just that, to ask forgiveness from the Gambian people.
Okay.
According to Mandingo proverb, they said if they put you and your friend, to select one, you will take your friend. But if they put you and your friend to select one person, you will select yourself.
Thank you very much.
Now, in response to that, I am glad you made two comparisons. like what the lead counsel had asked me during the course of my testimony.
Lead counsel na watu mnambena sedaro di kanjang.
He said I ought to have resigned
Ako ntanyanta no minkala wala nke fonyo do kwala.
Or leave the country.
Wala ngabo banko kang.
But you see, the fact remains to be.
But yalon ko fon to nya minti hanisai.
Ya Jammeh has long hands.
Ya Jammeh bulu jangole bala.
He has long years.
And tulo fana sutiata.
And he's on.
Atulo fana kan jamfata.
I beg your pardon?
You said sot, nkai no tulo jangayata.
Okay. Okay. I don't.
There are so many people who will be going to Ya Jammeh.
And let me just make one specific example.
Misal kilin diba.
There are people who will always study his mood. If he is in a good mood, you can get anything from him. But if he is in a bad mood, if you tell him something, you know you are in trouble. Even it is for his own benefit. That's how he is. He was.
Okay, thank you very much.
But I'm sorry. The fact that certain things happen, I will not compare. Frankly speaking, I may be considered selfish. But I cannot compare my family to the rest of the Gambians. It may be selfish, but those are the only assets I have. Exactly.
Commissioner Carr?
Thank you, Chair. And thank you, Mr. Jobarteh, for your testimony. My first question would start with something you've just said. And which is that if Jammeh is in a good mood, you can get anything from him. And if he's in a bad mood, you may not get anything you want from him. So how do you read his mood? How do you know he's in a good mood or bad mood?
Let me first of all say this.
But follow nanyim for.
The fact that you are a minister does not mean that you could see him as and when you wish. Sometimes, you will call the chief of protocol and ask him to book an appointment for you. And the response you get is that I don't want to see him.
So in case you see him, how do you know he's in a good mood or bad mood?
People that are very fond of him are the ones that would know that. Because he can be happy or he can show you a good mood this minute. The next minute it will be like a chameleon.
The second question is, you've described the general environment in which you served as minister under Jammeh. Now my question is on your personal tenure. On how would you rate your tenure as Minister of Justice?
Very strenuous, very difficult. I don't know how to describe it, to be honest.
Would that mean you regret serving as minister?
Certainly. Because when he gave me my appointment letter in his office, I told him to give me an opportunity to discuss it with my family. And that Monday, I will bring in my letter as to the issue of acceptance. Little did I know that it will be on the news at 6 p.m. And it did come up. That night I could not sleep. Because of the ordeals I went through when I was in the service. Fire one day, rain the next day.
So what would be your biggest regret? What would you say was your biggest regret, since you said you regretted serving as minister?
That was to leave my position as a judge. Or private practice. It's my biggest mistake.
What about the regrets? What about the actions that you took, the initiatives? What would you say was your biggest regret during your time as minister?
I don't understand.
You served as justice minister for some time.
Justice minister for what?
Some things have happened. You may have liked them, you may not have liked them. So I want to know what would be your biggest regret, since you said you regretted serving as minister during that time.
Number one, I shouldn't have left the position of a judge. No, Marvel Kitty Taylor Battle.
Well, George, Kitty Taylor Montino.
That's what I said. You know. And secondly, my private practice. If I were to tell you, my position as a judge, in as much as I was compelled to take the position, the salary and the allowances together was not more than 50,000. Now, as a minister, it's the same thing. Same figure. Whilst when I was in private practice, sometimes I could make between 5 and 10 times more than that. And there was quite a lot that I have been able to do, or I had been able to do financially.
Andum fana ni nata depaso la Kenya la wata mombe o doku mfansun doku wala nga kujama la keno mfaye depaso la karola.
And this is the final question is on institutional reforms.
Nyininkar laba mintu wala doku bundal mbe yala mandela nyami yaloku.
As you know, one of our mandates is to ensure that we have institutional reforms to prevent the reoccurrence of dictatorship.
Yalong kominia jibe yem sasimin na nyanta doku min kola kala adabo kono komi nga yela mandir ke doku bundale saje kuol min keta no ikana senkan koteng.
So in your concluding remarks, I'd be glad if you can suggest ways of strengthening the justice process in this country.
Can I borrow a pen so I can note it down? I know Mr. Fal is glad that I have taken interest in that. Quickly he got up. Yes, was giving me a pen.
I am eager to help my learned senior.
No.
So thank you once again for answering my questions.
Abaraka bake ye jabiro ken nyinin karo la nyam.
Thank you, Commissioner Ka.
Baraka Commissioner.
Mr. Jobarteh, before I ask you to make your final, I want to ask, is it okay? But I have a question before I allow you to play the tape. You have repeatedly said that your family is your most precious asset.
Ite ya fo jenne ko imuru ise inkanta kan kolengo ko ila dimbal wala fon ila itala sula ku bakatamadi.
And that people may regard you as selfish.
Mo se mutanole ko ite ketule ku ngoda male mirala.
But the question I want to ask you isn't the name that you leave behind very important also
for your family?
Contextualizing this question specifically to the executions. You removed yourself from the reality to the extent that your name is indelibly written in the legal and court records, not only of this country, but at the international level. And even though you have categorically stated here that you did not give the advice, those records remain for perpetuity. Your grandchildren, your great-grandchildren, and generations yet unborn will have access to those records. You will not be there to say, I did not participate, I did not give the advice. And yet, this is the family that are so precious to you, that you want to leave a good name for, and that you've been trying so hard to preserve your life for. How do you explain that?
Thank you very much. History is never written in isolation of all the issues involved. The particular topic. Once that aspect is written in history, people will see under what circumstances were all these things happening. Which will bring the application of a reasonable man's test. And the question would be, what would I have done if I were in that similar position under such circumstances? I don't know how to, quite apart from Commissioner, I don't know how to refer to you because you were once my teacher.
Commissioner Malamba Fole Yamin Katite Katana
Akrawalan, I think it was in Form 1. Likewise, Alhaji Mr. Jallo.
Sekatuma Alhaji Mr. Jallo Fana.
And what you people had taught us
and Atula Lentol Karandinu Minna
were good manners. So, frankly speaking, I will not lie. I'm not going to look at the country in isolation with my family. If anything happens to any member of my family, like most of them and other friends, other friends suggested that I leave the country. Especially my eldest daughter. I always ask her one question. You are able. If I leave and leave these younger ones here, how will they survive? Would their education not be interrupted? So that is the reason why, I said my family comes first. Whatever has to happen to me, I leave my faith in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I'm not going to run away. Someday, I strongly believe history will absolve each and every one of us. I hope I have answered your question.
Actually, I was not talking about it from the safety of your person, but the fact that the records show that the minister designated for that purpose, who has his own deliberate judgment, considered the totality of all relevant matters, and has decided to recommend to me, meaning the president, that I should exercise my powers as provided by law in relation to the convicted persons. You have categorically stated here that it was not you. The point I'm making is those records are permanent records. Which constitute the legal records of this country, and I would presume the international records as well. They are going to remain for perpetuity. Which individual will come out and say, I falsified this document? Minister Lawyer Jobarteh did not make this decision.
Minister Lawyer Jobarteh
and this is something that your family will have to live with forever. Because you will not be there to deny. And I don't think what our proceedings here are going to be part of those court records. To exonerate you from this position. That's the point I was making.
Well, that is most unfortunate, to be honest. As you have rightly stated, I know for sure the Quran is here. Whatever I did, or whatever I omitted to do, was because Yaya Jammeh took it away from me. So there was very little that I can do about that. It's regrettable that certain things or advices that I should have given him, I never had the opportunity to do so. If we can be assigned the task of responding to the I think it was UN or AU, I don't remember the exact organization.
Amnesty International.
Exactly.
Amnesty International well.
We were supposed to answer the 10 points. After having done that myself, and 2 officers from my office, at the time, Susan Wafa Ogu, and 2 officers from her ministry, could come up with a write-up. And he turns around and insults us. Very serious insults. I don't want to repeat them. To the extent I would have preferred something else other than those insults. But what can we do?
Council, you have something to play for us?
Yes, Madam Chairperson.
Madam Chairperson.
We have received an audio. It's in the Mandinka language. It will help contribute to this record. May I ask that the OV van place it in short segments and allow for interpretation? Please go ahead.
Banko Alpha Ba Kontona Menkata Dr. Ajeratu Njai Fediti, the Honorable Dr. Njuguba Kontona, then Banko Gefan Kontona Menkata Honorable Wa Jobarteh.
The Honorable Wa Jobarteh
Kontona, the Governor West Coast Region Kontona. And there is nothing in these things that I have denied. I've said it here clearly. That they all happen in the office of the Vice President. In the presence of all the ministers.
In which you justified the executions.
All of us
That good confirmation yet again. So we would exhibit. You don't need to hear the recording.
No, I don't.
You satisfied that this was you talking?
Yes.
And you satisfied that in that instance you justified the executions as lawful under Gambian law? Even though you knew that that was false.
I
asked this question. I asked this question.
No, I don't want to go there. If I do that, I will incriminate myself.
Okay, fair enough. You invoke your right not to incriminate yourself.
Exactly right.
Thank you very much. The commission would, I ask that the audio be exhibited, so we don't need to hear much more. Thank you very much, Mr. Jobarteh. Before I yield the floor, perhaps then I should just ask to exhibit the documents I have. The Commission had requested the NIA for the personal information file of Mr. Jobarteh. You see, Mr. Jobarteh, we've done it even before you suggested that we did. So the record would be Exhibit 195. That was our request. Exhibit 195A1 would be the letter from Permanent Secretary PMO directed to the Secretary General. No, directed to, no, I think it's a letter by Harry Sambu to the Permanent Secretary PMO indicating the redesignation of Mr. Jobarteh. And 195A2 would be the appointment letter of Mr. Jobarteh of 27 June 1996. Exhibit 195A3 would be the transfer letter for Mr. Jobarteh of 27 June 1996. And Exhibit 195A4 would be letter from PMO to Mr. Jobarteh informing him of his transfer of 26 June 1996. Sorry, it should be 196. So 196 all through, 196A1, 196A2, 196A3, 196A4. Right. And then 196B is an internet article by Fabakary Cisse entitled How Jammeh Executes Mile 2 Inmates. And 196C is another internet article, Gambia's president orders all death row inmates killed. 196D is also an online article, World News Platform, article entitled Gambia's former Justice Minister defended executions of death row prisoners. 196E is the Amnesty International report entitled Gambia, report of official executions being carried out after long hiatus. Then 196F is point article, government on death penalty pronouncement, which also contains the picture of Mr. Jobarteh. 196G is also another article, How Jammeh Executes Mile 2 Inmates. And then you have the warrants. 196H is warrant for the execution of Lamin B.S. Dabo. 196J is warrant for the execution of Malang Sonko. 196K, let me see. Okay, from J I went on to, there is no I. I have avoided I because of confusions that it could cause. So J, 196K is execution of Lamin Jaju. 196L is the warrant for execution of Jebe OGB Ba. 196M, warrant for execution of Aluba. 196N is warrant for execution of Tabara Samba. 196P, I have avoided O because it will look like 0. That's 196P is warrant for execution of LF Jammeh. 196Q is warrant for execution of Buba Yabo. 196R is warrant for execution of Dauda Bojang. And the audio record just played would be exhibit 196S. R. Sorry, I have R, so it would be S. Okay, it would be S, 196S. Thank you very much.
And what's the title you're giving to the audio?
It's audio record of explanation of the execution of the 9 inmates provided by Mr. Lamin Jobarteh.
Explanation.
Oh, justification.
Justification. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lead Counsel.
Baraka Lead Counsel.
Mr. Jobarteh, if you have a statement, please.
A very short one.
Mr. Jobarteh, natara yokuma counsel they left the coming for. Ngasodola, so to yari ngofong.
I thank Mr. Chairman
members, commissioners,
commissioner,
and lead counsel,
and lead counsel,
and his deputy,
and I know Malonko.
It's indeed a difficult job,
but
somebody has to do it.
But for more,
so it behoves those of you that are willing to sit here in this commission to do this kind of a job. I know the country had been through series of turmoils. Some have been endured. It has not been so for everything or everybody. It is not an easy 22 years. But when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, no, this has to happen. Like they say in Mandinka.
If God said that this must happen, but the head will remove from the neck, but it must happen.
So I will stop at that issue and take up another issue. Sectoral reforms, which I consider very, very vital. Like I said,
my learned senior is talking. I have to take notes.
This issue of firing or firing at will should be one issue that must be stopped. It is still going on. You are fired and you wouldn't know what you are being fired for. And number two, the security forces. Lead counsel will agree with me, Justice Chomba, in one of his celebrated judgments, warned the police that they must not poke their nose into what is not their business. No, the police. They are not supposed to be debt collectors. Councils, am I right or wrong?
Spot on.
So the greatest reform is where that should be. That is very, very important. There are high and more qualified people who can run that place. But no, once you give somebody a contract at a particular position at the police, that will retard the promotion of another under him. If you are due for retirement, go. On the issue of traffic, you see a lot of advantages that are going on against the populace. Although I would agree that it is the motorists or other pedestrians who would deliberately violate the law. But there is a set procedure that ought to be adopted. But not to ask for somebody for his driver's license and you don't have a driver's license, they say, let's go and I park your car. You waste his day's time. You waste his day's work. You put the passengers to suffer. All those things need to be looked at. Keeping detained individuals for days without trial. One of the reasons why I built Bansang Police Station in the form it is. No suspect can escape from there. I gave it a special design. Through the wall, you cannot escape. The roof, you cannot escape. The doors, you cannot escape. Really. But after doing all that, Yaya Jammeh at the opening ceremony said it is only criminal lawyers. Who can make those kind of designs. It was an insult to me, but what can I do? Nothing, absolutely. Our children also, we need to look at them carefully. We need to teach our sisters, our mothers, our fathers to keep control of their children. If you go out at night, for example, if you see how some of these girls dress, and some of the things that they see, that they do rather, it's pathetic. So on that note, I thank everybody. And may God bless all of us.
Thank you, Mr. Jobarteh. Thank you, lead counsel, interpreters, media people, everybody, for your patience. I now hand over respectfully to the chair. Chair.
Thank you very much, Deputy Chair, for helping us during this last 2 hours. But before I make announcements about next week and thereafter, I want to leave the hat of the chair on the side for a moment and allow me to be a bit selfish to ask a witness to clarify something for us. Us meaning the people of Bansang, where he comes from. And I'll do so in Mandinka, if you don't mind.
Since the day
when Mbalo Kante ate to me,
Mbalo Kante accused you. The whole of Bansang has heard about it. The whole world has heard about it. To hear that you have cut somebody's nipple with a razor blade. You have put a very big weight on top of the community of Bansang. You cannot raise your head above in so many places. There are so many people who are saying that a citizen or native of Bansang can do something like that to a human being. That weight.
Biyeole address janto.
That's what you have addressed here today.
But I
think if you could add a bit of it.
You
tell your people to raise your head above. As you stated it here. It is not like that. If you could say to the Bansan community what has actually happened.
Balo Kante,
have you cut off his nipple or not? If you don't do it, what do you know about how it happened? I'm not pressurizing you there. And also I'm not criticizing you. But I think if you could say it to your own people, it's something that has occurred, so that they can raise their head above a bit.
Go ahead, please.
Thank you very much, Chairman.
Chairman.
Before
I said something,
I
can swear to the Holy Quran, billahi wallahi tallahi. If I have took a razor blade and cut off the nipple of Balo Kande, may God not make me to reach at my resident.
Billahi wallahi tallahi.
Billahi wallahi tallahi.
Make.
I did not do it today, I did not do it tomorrow. And nobody will stand here and say that they have seen me doing it. And no one will stand here to say that when his nipple was cut off, they saw a blood oozing out. And if it has happened, at least maybe 1 or 2 people, they will have seen the blood.
And secondly,
if it has happened, and if it has happened, where was he cured, treated? And which doctor has assisted him with treatment? That's why your work
is a very difficult one.
There are so many people who will come here, all they do is lies. But things that have not happened in your present, you have a big tax. But I know between me and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and the first day of my grave, the first night of my grave, I have never touched his breast, his nipple, or talk less of cutting it off. Something is very clear to me. When we went to Abidjan to investigate about the Kukoi issues,
and
also when we went to Ouagadougou, we know the difficulties that we have encountered there.
Alhaji,
by then Alhaji
Ismail Sibe,
Alhaji Ismail Sibe,
Sarakulolem,
he is a Sarahuleman.
Honorable Sibe.
As the usual procedure, upon our arrival, we went to the councillor. As we arrived, we were discussing with him. He informed us that Haris Sambu has called us to inform us about your coming.
In the presence of one Mr. Musa Sise. During the course of our evidence collection,
whilst we were doing that evidence collection, we realized that
Balo Kante was in Liberia.
Abenun
Liberia. Charles Taylor Nala Mulmel Benyola.
Charles Taylor and the people he was fighting with,
Wole Balokante, and in one chap, I don't remember his name, but it's something Sise also.
Those were the people who Balokante and something Sise.
That's
where we are told that.
That Sise was buried alive.
That was Sise ni ya bade la baloring.
He didn't go to Abula Kondo Yasare.
They did not even kill him. They just placed him in the dock, then bury him alive.
What tortures nyol Balokante Kamel Lantela?
The torture in that Balokante is accusing me of.
Liberia.
That happened to him in Liberia.
Another faction will rescue.
There were other people that rescued them.
So,
I left him with Allah.
And
Allah will judge between me and him.
Because such an inhuman treatment.
Yellow
television.
You stand before the TV. You stand in front of the TV and make
sure. Allah will punish him.
I
have no doubt about that.
And if in the event that I have placed a big weight on the shoulders of the Bansan community, I'm appealing to them to forgive me. That's what I can say.
Thank you. Council, you wanted the floor before I...
Mr. Chair, obviously this issue would come for the Commission to consider. And while Mr. Jobarteh has been given the opportunity to address this, I think it also behoves me to bring to the attention of the Commission some new information I have received when Mr. Barry provided this the same information.
Yes, indeed.
Somebody who was in Liberia at the time and participated in all these things sent me some information that I have asked the person to put in a statement to be registered with the Commission. The person said the Commission needs to charge the current witness for contempt of court for blatantly lying on the oath. Referring to Fodebari. He said Domingo died on the 6th of April 1996.
Domingo banta April karo Tiliworo 1996
And Balo Kante was never arrested in Liberia for his breast to be cut.
Balo Kante inana mamuta Liberia surdu kana kafoko ka kuntu.
Domingo was captured by the Ulimo J and tortured to death.
Domingo Unimo J kafo mulwala mutandu ya lipa ya tajirende afafara.
And buried somewhere. We later exhumed his corpse and gave him a proper burial. Balo and Co. left Liberia long before the April 6 operation where Domingo died.
Balo na donyol narna Liberia bula wati jankola janning Domingo na donyol janning Domingo befala.
Your Honors would remember that we have received evidence about the Gambians who were part of Taylor's entourage.
Ye akamemfo kia mana wala nyinga sedandro soro jana ko Gambia dungo dol soro me alon ko enin Charles Taylor be bulobe nyobulu do ko kono kela do ko ke.
Balo Kante was never named.
Balo Kante ma to foje.
Amongst them.
Itol kono wol kono.
He was a commander in the other sides. But I just brought this so that the Commission can consider that and also the witness would hear that. This is by no means meant to show that that Balo Kante was correct in his allegation.
Well, you when you attend go Balo Kante ala said and drawing kono I memfo kumala mialonko kumaso beolam kumatonya malem.
But at least there are witnesses from those who were in Liberia who can disprove the hearsay evidence that Mr. Barry and Mr. Jobarteh have offered the commission. This is just for the completeness of the record. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed, my counsel. This is indeed a fair balancing of what we have heard here in the commission from Fode Barry, now from witness Mr. Jobarteh.
Kiaman ko inum barabake council nyimu kulet me ya lonko pesa ro nyimba pesa la nyambe ngabe akulia ngabe pe ibenyo sabalale isaje bawo nga moy Fode Barry nga moy nyi sero men fanam be andu nga moy balo kante fananda karolale abe commission de mala bakele.
As I said earlier, it was a selfish act on my part to raise this issue of where he or Gama comes from and the people, the burden that has been on them during the past few years.
So wala sabu nga ko mo nyimfindinde anyati no prisaje ay ko nyin sene ande aduno nyin si yom fa do mandim bansan kol kan wala sabu ngof.
Again, thank you very much, Babadinding, for explaining your side of the story to your own people.
Anin kabi Babadinding memusedo inumbara bake tumala menna ila karola tumiro mellate kan pri fana ya sene ande be kan nyame ya sene ande commission nyaade no nyame inumbara bake o kan.
Amere si ko ngulindino do mandin sai.
No, left them for a wrong.
I'm for them, but
Lamin Babadinding.
Yeah, oh,
I'm not Babadinding.
Yeah, I know. But until we get But yes, indeed, as I said, thank you so much. Come on, story.
Chairman.
Yes, sorry.
Chairman.
Wow. Okay.
I want to say two important things.
Affaire Mbalo Kante.
Wow.
The issue of Mbalo Kante.
Mo wenam bi wone ut ko fi. Ken gisut fi wen bi.
Sorry, go ahead.
Mbalo Kante's nipple was not shown here. Nobody have seen it here.
Imam.
He did show.
Yes. One in
Wow.
Okay. One in
Wow.
Okay.
Well, again, thank you again very much for your explanation. Before we conclude, now I'll put on my chair, the hat of the chair, and announce that this is the end of the 20th session of the Commission today. We are going to continue to meet next week in the various committees. The committees that would meet next week: the Reparations Committee, the Human Rights Committee. That one would meet at subcommittee level. There is a subcommittee that is dealing with reparations. And there is another subcommittee dealing with disappearances. And the third committee that's meeting next week is the Reconciliation Committee. We will announce when the other two subcommittees are, or the other two committees are going to be meeting. These are the subcommittees on child protection And the Sexual and the Gender-Based Violence Committee. Then the fifth one would be the Amnesty Committee. We will resume our meetings on the 22nd of February. That's when we would start on the 21st. 22nd February. Yeah. That's when we start the 21st session of the Commission. And Council, if I'm not jumping ahead of everybody, I believe we are going to be looking at the West African migrants and perhaps residuals from the NIA institutional hearings.
Yes, Mr. Chair, you're absolutely right. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, welcome.
Thank you all very much indeed. Sorry, it's been a very, very long day, but a very useful one. Thank you all for your patience, and have a restful weekend when you start that. Thank you so much. Meeting is adjourned.